Counselor David G. Romero.
Here.
Counselor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Counselor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Counselor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have a quorum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for one of our friends, Steve, who had a tragic accident, passed away a few days ago. And for all our kids are back to school. Pray for them, for their parents, the kids, that they'll have a safe school year. And watch our traffic, keep them safe, keep them in our prayers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Ray.
approval of the agenda as is.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. and a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carried.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of June the 12th work session, June the 19th the regular session, June 25th special session, July 10th work session, and July 17th, 2019 regular session.
As amended?
Madam Mayor? Yes, I did
As
send
amended?
in. I move that we approve the minutes for June 12th work session, June 19th regular meeting, June 25th special meeting, July 10th work session, July 17th regular meeting as amended.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is mayor's appointments and reports. Madam Mayor?
I want to make a statement that today we have a special guest who's in the back who will be presenting to us today. Thank you for being here. And also, we also have some great news from Tana, who will be presenting our meeting report in detail. So that's it. Nothing more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next item is on the agenda is mayor's recognitions and proclamations.
I have none.
The next item is public input. Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Madam Mayor, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Before we go into public input, I request that the guidelines for public input be read by the clerk so that people who have not done public input before know that we have a protocol and decorum that is in city code. And I would like that read aloud so that everyone who is present knows that we do have rules for doing public input.
Go ahead, Ruth.
Please observe the following guidelines during public input. Addressing the governing body. Manner of address. Each person orally addressing the governing body shall first seek the recognition of the presiding officer, and after being recognized, shall stand and give his name and address for the record before proceeding. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a whole, and not to any member thereof. No person other than a councilman and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion without permission of the presiding officer. No question shall be asked a councilman except through the presiding officer. Decorum. Public, while the governing body is in session, no person shall act in a disorderly manner, nor while addressing the governing body shall any person make any personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks. The presiding officer may bar anyone acting improperly from continuing his address of the governing body. Enforcement. The chief of police or such police officer as he may designate shall be the sergeant at arms of the governing body, and shall carry out all orders of the presiding officer for the purpose of maintaining the order and decorum of the session. Upon orders of the presiding officer, it shall be the duty of the sergeant at arms to place any person who violates the provisions of this section under arrest and cause him to be prosecuted upon the complaint of the presiding officer. City of Las Vegas Code 2011, State Statute 4-7, procedure for regular and special meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So when you come up to speak with regards to public input, please address the governing body. And when it comes to the issue of slanderous remarks, that means that if you make a remark and you have no proof or evidence to that remark, then don't make the remark. But if you have proof, even if it's a small element of proof, then you can go ahead and address that and use that information in public. Let's continue. Thank you very much.
Going into public input, once again, we have Andrea Gottschalk and Andy Kingsbury. Yes, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Gottschalk. I'm the president of the Las Vegas First Independent Business Alliance and vice president.
Andy Kingsbury.
And we're here to represent the businesses on Plaza Park and Bridge Street regarding the recent street closure for the car rally that happened. And I know it was a last-minute decision, but it impacts us greatly. And I want to address that it is very difficult for us to make a livelihood when the street is closing for us. I wrote a few things that I would just like to read because I don't want to forget anything, if you don't mind. The problem is nobody was informed at all that this was going to happen, the street closure. And there's many merchants that at this point feel very fed up that there seems to be a lack of thoughtfulness regarding our daily business lives. We know that the city staff is doing a great job, and a lot of you are overwhelmed with all the many tasks that you have to tend to daily. But it felt like a bomb to us businesses that we were not considered in this decision, and it was a lack of communication with important decisions regarding street closures that have been made many times. There are so many other venues that could be considered for such as car shows. It doesn't have to be in the downtown area. There's venues like Lincoln Park, Carnegie Park, Melody Park, Railroad Ave, Golf Course, that events like that could happen and wouldn't impact any business. And there is, I think, a general misconception that these events bring business to us. Not at all true. Not at all. Fiestas, motorcycle rally, any event like that does not bring customers into the store. It's the contrary that happens. I personally walked around and asked a lot of the businesses how they did on that Saturday. I personally made $10, Tito $0, blowing in the wind $37, versus a nice flowing afternoon on Saturday, where people had access to the businesses. So what happened this particular Saturday too, that all the excess vehicles were parked in the Valencia Street parking lot. So even if customers wanted to access us, they couldn't. There was no parking anywhere.
And around the plaza as well.
And around the plaza. So when events like that happen, and I know there's a proper permit application, please do consider how it does impact our daily life. And I'd just like to read on a little bit. These are my own thoughts, but I do know they reflect all the businesses on Bridge Street and Plaza Park. So, let's see, why always downtown, where we rely on daily income from people that come in person into our business? Why are our businesses not considered when it comes to issuing permits for Bridge Street closures, when it is us that contribute majorly to the gross receipts tax to our town? City Hall has nothing to lose having these events in other parts of town. Us businesses have everything to lose on those closure days. Please consider the impact this has on us. Just like government shutdowns have on their employees, and imagine not getting paid for so many days per month or year. It affects your pocket, your outlook, how you feel about the place you live, how it's run, etc. The owners of the businesses that are lined around Plaza Park and Bridge Street have their personal lives invested in what they do. The buildings they house are the gems of our town. When we thrive, our families thrive, our employees thrive, the town thrives, the buildings will be kept up, locals and tourists have a wonderful, unique shopping experience, movie-going experience, strolling experience, restaurant and bar fun, and something to want to return to. All this and more is affected by street closure. Please be more thoughtful the many more times to come that you will have to issue permits and allow street closures.
3 minutes.
Okay, Madam,
I'll allow you.
Then-
Continue.
continue.
Yes, finish.
Okay. Ideas to have getting considered in the future, other than having other outlets, other than downtown, is, for example, to have emails going out to all the businesses that are affected. I receive very good communication, by the way, by Angie and Virginia, but I receive them and I have to forward them. So why not put an address list together of businesses that will be immediately affected by any decision that's being made? And also to consider such, when fiestas and motorcycle rally is happening, and I know that downtown is a nice outlet for that, but don't have an unreasonable time of street closure before, such as, the cones around Bridge Street and Plaza. You can't park anymore. That usually happens at least 24 hours in advance and afterwards, which adds 2 additional days to every event. And just also, please just involve us in the decision making when there is time to get us involved,
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I speak for a sec? There's my
I'm not going to allow it because
Okay.
we've already extended the time. So thank you
Andrea
very much.
Touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person is Jay, Mr. LV Pride, New Mexico. Good evening.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes. I just want to say thank you for all you've done for us. I am Jay Quillis, Jaylene Quillis, with President Mr. of Las Vegas Pride. And what that means is basically that is our GLBTQ community here in Las Vegas. I brought to you to the parade, which brought over 3,000 people, and a lot of people came out from it. And a lot of people from that were attacked, they were bullied, they were segregated, they were made fun of, they were meaned of. There was a lot of bad things happening to women, men, and kids. I come to you because I've needed help through this process, and I came to my city, and you have helped me courageously. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I went to our governor Monday, and I had a meeting with the governor. And I let her know what was going on because they questioned if we asked our police department for help, if we've asked our other state people for help, and we have, and no one's helped. We decided to do a drag story time library at the library, and we have had so much support, right down to Martin Heinrich, our senator, right down to the American Library Association, right down to GLAAD, right down to ACLU. And they will be there to help us and to serve our rights to the public, because these children, what I'm facing is children of abuse, molestation, incest, rape, no food, no nothing. And here we are, adults, not helping them. And I need help for this community. The Drag Story Time has been a marvel way of acceptance and respect. I have had some challenges saying, men in a dress, God forbid, but that is a stereotype, like a woman with a haircut, that it doesn't make her a lesbian, short hair. It makes her a person. We are people, and we have been segregated from the community and shunned. And you highlighted us, you helped us make that movement powerful. And from then, we've had marginalized support, huge support, even from our women. groups, even from our mental illness groups, our disabled. We're all marginalized coming together because we know we have rights and we are going to utilize them. But our governor cabinet office did ask, reach out to you guys again. And again, you've helped us for everything because these are people, these are children coming up and they are confused. I'm not confusing them. They are confused. I was that child when I grew up in this town and nobody helped me. And there's 41% of suicide, which we aren't pertaining to. So I come to you, not only with more help, but respect and love, that all of us need healing at this time. But we also need to come together. I did take the paper to the governor's office that highlighted the police being really bad to the community, the women being attacked, suffering, and they were really appalled that they do not see that when they come here. And so I've worked with the governor since 2008. I'm a 4-time title holder, and I know my rights. And
3 minutes.
Continue.
I'm asking that day, since we are expecting lots of people, lots of support from all over the country, that we have a diversity day, the first diversity day, August 31st, for all of us to come together like we have been. The 3,000 people that came from the parade, there's more to come out. And there's more people that need help in their support. And I'm asking my council to be kind and compassionate to these people because these are your people. And so I'm asking for that. And I'm also asking for a task force to be funded to create a safety measure to protect our kids and families from the corruptness that is going on. Not from me, Madam Mayor. And that's what I ask. Again, I come to you with respect, love, and help. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person on the public input is Kathleen Dudley.
Good evening, Ms. Dudley.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Catherine Dudley. I wanted to just comment, having been recently back in New Mexico and attending one of the other council meetings and speaking up on behalf of what I saw in the community as far as the farmers market. I wanted to say that I've been really excited to see how progressive the markets have been and how productive and how many people are coming out for that. As a farmer myself, I understand what quality food is, and given the environment and all the toxicity that's in the environment with the glyphosate and the inerts in those products and all of the illness that is happening across the country and around the world, to have these local community funded and supported markets is really important, and I want to thank you for supporting the second one. In appearing, in going to that, I've seen just how many people rely upon it and the quality of the food, and I don't think there's much more importance than people being able to nourish their bodies, because that nourishes their minds. And when our minds are nourished, then we have the opportunity to be able to think clearly and make good decisions. And if we can't think clearly and make good decisions, then we are really falling backwards. So I want to thank you, Mayor, for all of the work you've done to make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dudley. The final person is Ms. Diane Lindsay.
Madam Mayor,
Council, I'm Diane Lindsay from Las Vegas. It's becoming more aware. I'm becoming more aware to contacts with youth in the area. There's a lot of youth in Santa Fe and Las Vegas, around the world. I'm very concerned about their future because the scientists are saying they have 12 years to figure it out, or it's too late. So I'm here to try to put out the word that we don't have time for all this conflict and what else can I call it? Just continual criticism and sending off complaints to Secretary of State and Attorney General because we really don't have the time for it. We have to figure out how we're going to survive this for your children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. That's one issue. There's other ones, of course, but I know the kids, the young people, teenagers are going on a strike in September around the globe. They are taking it very seriously and they don't take their time, and I really want to see this stop. It's distracting and it's really negative against our community, and our community could be doing so much more. I really thank you, Madam Mayor, the same as Kathleen mentioned, for your support of the farmers market. That's one place that is addressing those issues. Not only is it good food and healing, but it is also a solution to the carbon in the air. That kind of farming is. So we have the ability, and we have the people in this community that know how to do it. They've done organic farming long before it was called organic. So we need to work together and really let our mayor do what she's really good at, and that's problem solve and grant writing and a lot of other things that she can really help us do some things for us. So I'm hoping, and I'm also thanking you for staying with us, not giving up. I'm hoping that we can start working as a community and working together, at least in part. I know there's a lot of negative feelings that don't go away, but some of us can work together, and I'm hoping that many of us will. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McDermott. That concludes our public input. Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is presentations, and there are no presentations this evening. The next item is the city manager's report, and it has been a little bit of a little bit of a delay in time as far as our activities that we've had for the summer months, but we did have successful 4th of July fiestas, and I want to thank Mayor and Council for assisting us in those matters. If it wasn't for Mayor and Council, we wouldn't be able to move forward, and so I thank you. I thank you for all of your help, all your assistance, and of course your, you come before us and you give us there's awesome ideas that you people have, and sometimes, I went to Mr. Howell on a particular item, and he was very helpful with us, and so thank you, Mayor and Council, and of course the staff, because without your staff, we wouldn't have those successful events that we have. We ended up with sponsoring a rodeo this is the first year in 25 years, and it was a very successful event. The staff is ready to go and is starting to plan. As a matter of fact, they had their first meeting, I believe it was Tuesday, and so we're looking at having another rodeo. We really, the staff enjoyed putting it together, and there was just so many people that came from so many places. They were able to place and do a lot of their certifications to be able to go to Las Vegas, Nevada, and qualify for those events. And so we're real happy about that, and we're going to probably make it stronger by next year. We had 150 children participate in the Game and Fish, the fishing derby this year, and there was over 150 children that also participated in the fishing derby. And on that, we've had, and I don't know if anyone has been to Harris Lake, but we had the Kiwanis Club that donated, I believe it's 5 different benches. They went in, bought the benches, and then they installed the benches themselves, and they're going to be doing canopies and picnic tables. And so if you haven't had a chance to go out there, by all means, go out there because they're beautiful to look at. Our summer youth program ended on August the 7th. We ended up with approximately 35 students. We also had Game and Fish conduct a safety training course for four-wheelers, for four-wheel ATVs on back at Rodriguez Park, and that was also a real successful event. I don't remember the number of students they had, but it was a full house. We've started our new fiscal year, July 1. We continue to do our safety trainings, and there's several employees that have already completed the required hours. We also had 213 children in the recreation summer program. So that was monumental, and that was, I believe, that was the highest number that we have had. The motorcycle rally took place at the end of July. The Salute to the Troops was on August the 4th, Heritage Week on August the 3rd and the 4th, and then we had a real successful car show on August the 17th, and we did try to get a hold of vendors, and maybe we just need to do a better job, but I know that the restaurants were full. Several of the shops were full as well, but we'll do a better job in trying to get a hold of these vendors and letting them know where we're going to go and what events we're going to have. We completed our road assessment, which we've been doing in order to qualify for federal and state grants, and we have a report that'll be forthcoming to you. We also completed, and I don't know if you noticed that we had Mills Avenue was closed off and on last week, and that was the Crack and Seal project, and that should extend the road for another 5 to 6 years. And so we're hoping that'll happen so that we can get those funds and appropriate them into other projects that we're looking at. We've already started to get together on the comprehensive master plan. We have the vendor that we're ready to go with. We need to sign up a contract and then move forward, but that'll come to mayor and council, I believe, in September for final approval. HUD will be providing training on August the 23rd and 24th for commissioners. The rededication for Bradner Dam will take place on August the 23rd at 10:30 a.m. at Bradner Dam. The ICIP plan will be submitted by September, I believe, the 4th or 5th of September. And August 31st, we will have story time at Carnegie Library at 12 noon. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Good job.
The next item on the agenda is the finance report, and we have Ms. Vega.
Madam Mayor, members of the council. Finance Department would like to review the finance revenue and expenditure reports for the general fund, the enterprise funds, and the rec center. The general fund, we have 1 month into our new fiscal year. The budget figures that are reflected on these revenue reports are the preliminary budget that was approved by DFA. And we won't have a final budget approval until September, right around September the 2nd. But I don't expect any of these to make any changes to these budgets. Total property taxes collected $35,260. Gross receipts taxes were collected at 8%. One of the tax line items is a little over, not by much. So total revenues for the general fund were $855,819. That is on the cash basis. Total expenditures expended were $846,483. The enterprise funds, wastewater. Now these are revenues that are actually billed, not collected in cash in. We've collected $248,653 for wastewater, natural gas $273,522. That didn't quite meet the 8% due to the fact that it's very warm. Solid waste, $284,941, and water at $410,779. Expenditures presented are on the actual basis, cash basis. Wastewater expenditures $203,813. Natural gas $185,880. Solid waste $218,839. and water at 348,251. The recreation center, total cash collected 47,216, and total expenditures of 53,745. The additional expenditures above revenues reflect the extra staff needed to take care of the summer children that we were providing these services for.
Questions, comments?
Madam Mayor and members of the council, I've also asked Ms. Vega to give you just a brief summary on the Moody's Investor Services report that we receive usually in July of every year. So take that. I'll turn that over to Ms. Vega.
We did receive the Moody's report, and the information here is based on our 2018 financial audit. And I know some questions were brought up about our bonding capacity and the stability of the city. And a special note is the credit overview. Las Vegas has a sound credit position, and an A2 rating is weaker than the median rating of A3 for U.S. cities. Key credit factors include a healthy financial position, a small debt burden, a narrow tax base, but a highly elevated pension liability, and a subpar wealth and income profile. And when they're speaking about the highly elevated pension liability, this is the requirement by GASB, age 87, that if the retirement fund were to be unable to fund the retirees' pensions, the city and all the government agencies in the state of New Mexico would be liable to continue making those payments. So in 2014 was when had the inclusion of that gigantic liability on our financials. And every year an additional amount gets added to that liability. A special notice of finances. The financial position of the city is healthy and is a notable strength when compared to the assigned rating of A2. The cash balance as a percent of operating revenues, 36.5%, approximates the U.S. median and grew materially between 2014 and 2018. Moreover, Las Vegas fund balance as a percent of operating revenues is at 46.3%, exceeds the U.S. median. Any questions, comments?
Yes, I have some questions. One of the questions that I was asked was the bonding capacity, and you addressed that. So the debt service is pretty much consistent with where we should be. And
it's low. According to their report, we have a small debt burden in comparison to our cash balances.
So what does that do then? Could you explain how that affects the bonding capacity?
The bonding capacity is, can you afford to make payments on additional debt?
And then I read here briefly that the revenue has increased. Is that correct?
Had increased.
Mm-hmm.
The revenue, which is the economic and tax base, Las Vegas economic and tax base are limited and are relatively weak with respect to its A2 rating. The full value per capita, $46,097, is significantly below the U.S. median, but increased between 2014 and 2018. Furthermore, the city's total fund value, $628 million, is weaker than the U.S. median. Lastly, the median family income is a low 52.3% of the U.S. level.
So, could you explain to the council the importance of these Moody's report ratings?
This affects our ability to acquire more debt. And I'm real hopeful because this is what city manager and myself have been looking at. We have a low debt burden in comparison to we monitor our expenditures and spending to make sure they're only necessary and that they are reasonable.
So will we have the low debt service and our bonding capacity is secure?
Yes.
Okay.
When you have the rating of an A2, that actually lowers your interest rates in terms of bonds. And so that's good for the city because they look at this, Moody's is really the top of the line rating. Our financial advisor will come in and immediately look at your rating, bond rating, and that affects our bond, our interest rates as far as our bonds are concerned. Now, let's say you wanted to pass some debt. Let's say that there was a project, and I'm saying possibly at utilities. Those are funded by revenue. So if the financial advisor wouldn't advise us to pass a bond issue possibly for, let's say, Peterson Dam. Let's say you people decided that maybe Peterson Dam needed to be looked at and there was no other funding available, and let's say you thought that possibly the revenue bond would be the last thing that we would want to do, because we don't want to pass revenue bonds if we don't have to, but we would be able to look at our water revenues and see whether we could afford to fund the Peterson Dam project. Moody's and our financial advisor would immediately go to this report and look at our bond rating, and our bond rating is at an A2. For the last 4 years, we've been able to recover. And if you'll look at page 3, Exhibit 2, we have available fund balance as a percent of operating revenues increased from 2014 to 2018. And that gives you a short graph of what, in fact, we have been able, what you people have been able to do in conserving with your expenditures and with our revenues as well. We have increased it almost by 20%.
Yes.
It's been about 20%. So we've increased all of those. But your biggest factor in bonds is looking at the bond rating and how Moody's has rated us. And anytime you get an A or a AA, you will see a significant decrease in your interest rates.
Thank you very much. The bond rating is primarily looked at through the enterprise fund, correct?
Enterprise, yes, ma'am. Enterprise funds, yes.
And so this also means that I want to thank you, ladies, for reducing the actual debt for the city. That is amazing. If you look at the actual trend from 2014 to 2014, it's remarkable. The asset ratios are amazing. So that means you're doing a really great job in monitoring every penny that we spend and paying off the debt. That's really critical. And I would also like to direct at this point in time the optic to see if we can give him a copy of this report, and possibly you can write a really positive story. This is a great opportunity to highlight all the wonderful things that are happening here, and I would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Councilor, I have a question. You said that we've had this rating for how long?
We received it July 2019.
No, the A2 rating, how long have we had that?
As of July.
We've had it, they do it once a year.
Last year we had it, was it an A2 also?
It was an A2. It was very close to an A2, I believe. And was it?
Yeah.
And we can go back and look at the other statements, but they've been A. We look at A. We try to work for an A and double A.
You have the best quality, which is the AAA rating.
Yes,
And
yes,
then you have the high quality, which is the AA, you have the
Yes.
AA1, AA2,
yes,
AA3, and then we're at the upper medium grade.
yes.
So have we talked with our advisor how to, what we would have to do to maybe increase that to the AA at least?
What's holding us back right now is the pension plan, the liability against the pension plan, because that's such a huge debt. And GASB 87 requires us to carry that debt, and it requires everyone to carry it. And so that has been something that's been detrimental to our, to the rating itself. But we can continue.
But that's kind of a statewide issue, so.
It is a statewide issue, sir. Yes.
It's also at the federal level.
So are
It would
we saying
also
that every
affect-
municipality is getting this
Yes,
rating just
in
because of
public
that?
school.
No, not every municipality or school district gets this rating. What I'm saying is, it has affected the city
It's
of Las
affecting their
Vegas.
financial statements. And believe me, I caught my auditors when they first told me, well, we're gonna have to disclose this. And I'm not booking it on our financials, because those are the actual fund balances we have in actual liabilities. This is a far-reaching liability, a possibility. And but they're required by GASB to disclose it, and
If we could get
it's
to that
federal
double, if we
wide.
could get to that AA, I mean, that would be so much better, but it's like, we're penalized because it's a statewide issue, and that's the only reason.
And that's the only factor apparently that's dragging us down right now. From
But we can always work for a AAA. That would be, that would be,
It's
in-
AAA, I know, in
that
my
would be
experience,
in the
AAA is
best,
hard, but
that would
the
be the
AA
best
is
for
where,
us.
Yeah,
you know,
double
we're
A.
it's there.
Right.
But even
And-
the AA's bring us some really good interest, lower interest rates
Yeah.
than what we would normally have if we would drop down to anything of that sort. But we can continue to try, of course.
More specifically for the enterprise fund.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, make sure you provide,
I certainly will.
If you have questions, please feel free to discuss it with Tana, and if you don't understand something.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tana.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
That concludes the city, the finance report. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Madam Mayor, members of the council.
We can go to President.
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I move approval of the consent agenda, items 1 through 8 as presented, and ask that they be read into the record proper by the clerk.
Consent item 1, approval to accept funding for the Department of Finance and Administration to operate the E911 system for the City of Las Vegas and State Police District 2. Item 2, approval to accept funding through the Department of Public Safety to reestablish the Region 4 Narcotics Task Force and use funds in overtime to conduct narcotics operations, training, and for vehicle maintenance on undercover vehicles. Item 3, approval of addendum number 1, authorizing a 1-year extension on the emergency ambulance services contract number 2623-13. Item 4, approval of task order for the Peterson Dam replacement project. Item 5.
May I stop you there for a second? I want to make a comment that I did receive a brief overview of programs, program overview by Mr. Guayo. Thank you, Mr. Guayo. But I was looking for the actual economic impacts which we've discussed. So thank you very much, continue.
Item 5, approval of resolution number 19-42 for submittal of a section 5311 grant application for FY21 federal transit funds. Item 6, approval of resolution number 19-44 infrastructure capital improvement plan, ICIP. Item 7, approval of resolution number 19-43 to transfer vehicles to Luna Community College. And item 8, approval of out-of-state travel to Lawrence, Indiana.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Yulibri Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey and a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Councilors' reports. Councilor Romero.
Just thank you, Anna Marie, and to Christy for, being a couple of, potholes and that you've addressed. One question that I have is code enforcement, the weed issue. Are we addressing that, or what's happening?
We are, Counselor, we are doing that throughout the city, but if you give me a specific address, especially one that is pretty, that isn't, that needs to be cleaned up, if you'll just give me a call or text me, I'll have code enforcement work on it. Thank you, Counselor.
I have several things that I wanted to report. In reviewing the utilities report, there was one on the section on water distribution where it says that someone had purposely broken the lines on 8th Street. And then it says that the construction company, I think I have that here with me, is responsible for fixing that. So how do we know who it says, on 8th Street, a valve was dug up resulting in a water leak. The line has not yet been turned over to the city, so the construction company is responsible for repairs. Who was the construction company, and were they working there to begin with, or?
Yes, Counselor, the Hayes Plumbing has been doing the water project there on 8th Street, and we did have an incident there, and I'll let Ms. Gilberry address that.
Thank you. Madam Mayor,
Quite
Councilors.
interesting.
We had a rogue backhoe operator who felt like driving around one evening with his bucket down, scraping the road. We actually have video of this backhoe being driven around town, and I know we're trying to work with PD to try and locate the vandal. They came across one of our valves. We had been replacing, Hayes Plumbing had been replacing a water line. The line was in the ground, it was a brand new line. He had not paved it yet, so when he came upon it, he probably hit his bucket against it, spun around and used the other portion of the backhoe to dig out the valve, causing a water leak. It is under construction, so the contractor is still responsible for that water line until it gets turned over to the city. The contractor did respond that night. City helped with isolating the water. The contractor did make the repairs, and it will be up to the contractor to work with their insurance. We are, again, trying to have PD help us locate the perpetrator, but that's why that's not on the responsibility of the city to pay for that repair. It will not be a change order. It will not be a cost and increase to the project. The contractor will be responsible for, and they did already make the repair, and any additional costs because of that vandalism, the contractor will work with their insurance company, or if the vandal is found, they'll go through the legal system.
Thank you. In the Public Works report, under project management, it says worked on crow's nest at county fairgrounds. Do the county fairgrounds belong to us or to the county?
They belong to the county, but the crow's nest needed to be repaired. And so in order for us, they didn't charge us anything for us to use the county fairgrounds. All they asked was for us to repair the crow's nest.
Okay, and so that was kind of a...
We'd like to be able to move to, yes, we'd like to be able to move to our rodeo grounds, but at this point, those ones were ready with the exception of that one piece.
Okay. Then also under the Parks Division, the monthly playground and equipment inspection, there are very specific guidelines for playground equipment, and I know that a lot of our equipment is really old. And so do we have like a list of specifications that are checked for, or how is that done? Is it just like a visual to make sure that there aren't any like screws sticking out, or how is the inspection conducted?
I'll have Christy talk a little bit about it, but I'll also address that. We're looking at bringing in playground equipment, and we've been pricing them out with several vendors to see if, I know we priced something out for Lincoln, and I believe it was Hannah Park, and I'm not sure, but we are looking at replacing, because they are old. Some of our equipment is very old, but I'll leave the inspection over to be addressed by Danny and Christy. Gentlemen?
guess basically as far as the playground equipment, we will be just to make sure that there's no crack in the metal and stuff like that. Make sure that the screws aren't sticking out if some of the plastic stuff that is not cut up will slide down and cut the kids' neck and stuff. And if they are, we're gonna have to go ahead and close them off when we have these. Pretty much it's just a basic to look over, just make sure it's not no harm to the kids.
And we will remove that piece if public facilities and parks goes out and they assess that and they notice that it would be a danger for our youth, then we will remove it, repair it and/or remove it if need be. But we are looking at additional, possibly additional playground equipment that needs to be replaced.
And I really appreciated the list of employee new hires and terminations and transfers and all that. That's very useful. And I think a while back, a long while back, we had requested that the new hires be introduced to the council so that we know exactly what they look like at least. Sometimes it's hard for us to know who to contact, and if we have the name of the person and where they are, that really helps, but it would also help if we knew the person that we're talking to. And I want to commend you for hiring Gilbert Deschamps in the IT department. He is excellent, and I'm very happy that he is going to join us, or already has, and so I'm very happy about that. He's an excellent person. And the last item is I had a phone call, a very long phone call, from a constituent who is wheelchair bound, and he is very concerned about the entrances to the sidewalk off of the street along 6th, 7th, and 8th Streets. And to be honest, I can't remember where he told me that he lived, but he lives someplace in that area. These ramps leading from the street up into the sidewalk are not wheelchair accessible because they're not wide enough. And I believe that those were redone when the previous mayor was here, and I do recall that I actually met with him and told him at the time that the requirements had changed so that those are supposed to be wider, and he had assured me that they would be. I guess I should have gone out and measured them, but I didn't because I just took it for granted that he would actually have those done according to ADA guidelines. But we need to maybe check those out when the crews are out painting the curbs. Maybe they can measure and see. They should be at least 48 inches wide. And so if we could check on that. He was very concerned about that. And he had a whole bunch of other concerns, but they're too numerous to mention, but I'll get them to you.
Absolutely. And we'll have public facilities go out and look at these ramps as well.
And I have a request of Mrs. Vega. Also, a long time ago, we had requested more detail for the finance report, and we have been getting the bank statements. But I'm wondering, is there any way that we can get a list of the checks that have been issued every month with the name of the payee and what they're being paid for?
Yes, ma'am. Would you like those on a monthly or quarterly basis?
A monthly would be good.
Electronic?
Pardon me?
Electronic?
Yes. Great.
We'd like to do that for you.
The lady in the back, did you say monthly as well? Right behind Tana. Did you want a copy? Oh, okay.
Those are green.
Thank you. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Callejas, I would like to thank you again for really addressing the issues that I bring up to you. I think I'd just like to know the status of those issues, especially on the 7th and Lutheran Lane, because I know Mrs. Court would like you to, were you able to connect with her?
No, I haven't as of yet, because we finally contacted the owner of the building, and so they had They didn't have anyone locally that could do it. They didn't have any names, so code enforcement gave them several names that they could contact to get that area cleaned up. And so code enforcement will be getting back to me, letting me know when they're going to come in. And I've kind of stayed on it, and because it needs to be cut. And so we did give them a listing, and they were going to call us back, or we'll call them in the morning as well, see if they did contact someone to come in and cut that area.
Thank you.
So I'll do that. I was just waiting for a confirmation so I could contact her as well. I'll be glad to do that.
Okay. And I would like to thank Mr. Duarte, Christie, and also Maria, when they came to the Cinder Road issue that we had with Mr. Maestas, Jose Maestas. And what is the status on that? Do you know?
What I've done is I've contacted Mr. Vidal Martinez to see what we can do as far as, I don't know that we can do an MOU, but I thought we would at least talk a little bit about the project. And so I will be meeting with him early next week.
Okay. Yeah, because we're getting more moisture now, and it's going to start to back up.
It starts to,
Yeah.
yes.
So. In regards to the Las Vegas First issue in the Bridge Street closures, I think they made a good point in regards to having community development to create a large email list to individual businesses instead of just the chair of the Las Vegas First Business Alliance. I think it's important that they send notification on closures to all the businesses instead of just one person. And also, they have a weekly meeting to discuss issues within their business environment. I don't know if any city representative is attending those meetings. I think that would be a good idea, because that way, if they during one meeting, if there are some road closures, they would be able to be informed. I think that's another good idea. And I think one of the representatives of the car show went to some of the businesses and informed them, but it was just like the day before or things like that. So
he had gone. I know he had visited all of the businesses 6 weeks before the event, and he talked to everyone. Because the idea for the car show was for them to really do trading with the individual vendors that were around the park. That was the idea, and I know that the restaurants were pretty cool.
Yeah, the restaurants and bars were
successful. Yeah, and so and I know that we were getting ready to send out a flyer the week before, and he took it upon himself to also visit. But we need to do a little bit better, and that we can always do better.
And I really want to thank you for all the things you keep doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. On that, could you check the Cinder Road Gabion baskets to make certain that they're clean? That's usually been the problem.
The
Gabion baskets, they're the ones that keep the debris from clogging it up. If they clean them up, that usually resolves the problem there in Cinder Road. And also, I believe, Virginia, you're out there. Do we have an e-blast list that goes out to everyone?
If you're talking about the Las Vegas First thing, we do, usually what we'll do is we'll send it to everyone. It's always been that they have wanted to send it out in their newsletters, so we allow them to do that. But we did have a conversation with them, we addressed their concerns, and we told them we'd be more than happy to send it out. Not only as a PSA, as we usually do, we put it on the radio, we usually will try to put it in the paper, and we put it on social media. But we did tell them we would be happy to create that list to also email it to them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Certainly do that.
Okay, Councilor Lee.
Madam, thank you. It's fabulous. We've done a good job at all the items I brought to you, streets, weeds. We still have some weed problems. So
we do.
On National, and Romero, and Santa Ana, and the right-of-ways. And at the City Park, right there behind the gazebo, there's a right behind the gazebo, right on the sidewalk area, there's one of the trees is up, it's bringing up the sidewalk up, and that's a real liability for the city, so I don't know if Christie can take a look at it.
Absolutely.
I just want to thank the street department and the rest of the employees for the good work they're doing for us. Thank you.
We'll be back to take a look at that.
Okay,
Thank
and
you,
I have
Councilor.
a follow-up question to Ms. Gilberry. With regard to the plumbing companies, once we hire them, for example, and I'm going to use this as an example, I noticed a while back that there was a plumber who was working on Reynolds Street, and they fixed, actually, I'm not certain who fixed, the sidewalks and the actual driveway. Who did that? Was it, I know it was not our responsibility, because that's the owner's responsibility. So who actually repaired the sidewalk and the driveway?
Mayor, Councilors, I'd have to look at that particular address to find out. I couldn't tell you right now who the contractor was or who fixed it. But yes, whoever was hired, whether a private resident hired them or the city contracts it out, that's who's responsible to fix it. So if I had an address, I could do a little research and find out who that.
Councilor Casey wants to address it. It was right in front of her home.
The neighbor that owns the property on the corner put in a new line, and it went right in front of our house, from his house all the way to the alley. He removed the sidewalk. He replaced it. His name is Bob Rudnick, R-U-D-N-I-K. And I don't have his contact information with me, but he did it himself. And I did call, I can't remember if I talked to Daniel or Christy, but I think it was Christy that I talked to, and asked him to, if he could go and look at it and see if it was, standard at least, because we had no way of knowing if it was done correctly or not. But,
Madam Mayor, Councilors, I'll work with Christie, I'll work with Public Works on that. Sometimes the contractors do not do them to standards or to good quality, and we can probably work with code enforcement and Public Works to make sure that it is properly done. But the contractor would have been responsible, or the homeowner, either one is going to be responsible. And they may have done if they did a permit, we can also look at the permit and see if they did or
Yeah, could you
didn't do.
follow up on that permit and the actual location of where it was done?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
One question. The lighting on Mills between Hot Springs and 8th Street hasn't been working.
Yes, Ernest told me that there is a shortage in the lines, and he asked me to go around. He said there's a short in there and find it. He's gonna have to go through the wall and see where it's at.
Yeah, that
We'll look
gets really
into that.
dark.
We'll look into
Okay,
that.
okay, thank you.
I have one more comment.
You need Councilor Howell?
Thank you, Mayor. This is to the chief. Chief, I understand that you had some successful events in regards to capturing one of our biggest, murder. Can you tell us about it a little bit?
Mr. Hell, if it's the...
But you work with the state police and the Albuquerque police, FBI.
Councilor.
I
believe that you can discuss what's out in the media, but you have to be careful with the
Right.
details of the case so it doesn't impact the actual case in the future.
I just wanted to congratulate him for doing that. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for working with everyone.
right.
Yes, sir.
It was a collaborative of all law enforcement.
Councilor Casey.
I just wanted to thank the police chief too for, it's so nice to drive to the police department and not see that big monstrosities that were there. I don't even know what they're called, but I'm so happy that they're gone. And it's so nice to see the older cars that we're donating to other entities also gone. It makes everything look so much better, and it's safer, I think, for the police officers that are coming in to park, or they need to leave quickly or whatever. I think it's a huge, huge improvement, and I thank you for that.
Great job, Chief.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Deputy, and each and every one of your personnel. You definitely made the right decision. to hire you as chief. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam.
I do not have a need for executive session, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
members
do we
of
have
council.
any need for executive session?
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters as permitted by Section 10-1-5 or -15-1 H2 of the New Mexico Opens Meeting Act, NMSA 1978.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Did you do want to add that?
Well, I was going to discuss, do I have to relay?
Personnel matters?
Yes. Okay.
And a vote. Roll call?
Counselor Yobri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Howell and a second by Counselor Casey. Motion carried.
Thank you. Let's reconvene into executive. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here today.